And Wales and England fans gearing up for their team's chances this weekend in the Euros. Last night in the opening game, Italy easily beat Turkey. So, obviously, if you are a Wales fan, you know that they will kick off today at 2 p.m. against Switzerland. We're going to talk to fans of both Wales and Switzerland in an hour. At 5 today, it's Denmark against Finland, and later, Belgium play Russia. Tomorrow, at Wembley, it's England against Croatia. And the England team have said they will continue to take the knee before kick-off to make a stand against racism. Last weekend, some England fans booed as players bent down on the pitch before the start of their friendly with Romania. England's captain for that match was Marcus Rashford, the youngest black man to lead the national side. This is what he had to say for those who booed.
We're not just going to quit because some people disagree with it for whatever reasons. So that's our thought process behind it. We're gonna stick at it. We believe that it's a strong and powerful message.
Let's speak to two England supporters who were at the game at the Riverside. Billy Grant, who's been following England for decades, and Andrew Dunn, who's been going regularly to England games for 7 years and is a member of the Social Democratic Party. He used to be a member of UKIP. He booed the players when they took the knee last week, and also at the Austria game as well. Andrew Dunn, hello to you.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. Now, England's Jordan Henderson says, "We all stand together against racism. That's the reason why we continue to take the knee." Why do you boo that?
Because I think we need to all stand together against racism like we did in Bulgaria when the main slogan on display in that ground was "No to Racism," something that everybody could support in the 21st century. All reasonable people are against racism. As we now know that there's no biological justification for it. Everyone was together, and it was a unique night in England's football, in the history of England's support, because people loudly sang anti-racist songs, and there was nobody saying, "Oh, I disagree with that," or nobody. I've never met an England fan on an England away trip where they've said, "I disagree with the no to racism idea." Everyone agrees with it. It's got consensus.
So why are you booing taking the knee then?
Because this is something completely different. The FA made an extraordinary decision in June 2020 to emblazon Premier League players' shirts with Black Lives Matter, the name of a far-left direct action political group.
Weren't they just stating a fact? Black Lives Matter.
Well, I think that this is where this becomes a political divide. I mean, the no to racism is something that Tories and Labour supporters and whoever people who aren't interested in politics can support. But Black Lives Matter smacks for a lot of people of the kind of left-wing approach to anti-racism, which is kind of, for those on the right, is riddled with double standards. It's kind of like, you can say Black Matter, but you can't say White Lives Matter. Why can't we just say all lives matter and express our view that human beings are essentially of equal worth?
But the England team, Jordan Henderson, Gareth Southgate, Marcus Rashford, they've explained why they're doing it. They've explained it's nothing to do with the political arguments. It's about a stand against racism. They've explained why they take the knee. Do you not believe them?
I think it counts for something. I'm not entirely dismissing what they're saying, but what I do think is that in the minds of people, when it was brought to English football, it was in the wake of the George Floyd killing. So it's associated in the minds of the public, including me, it's associated with Black Lives Matter protests, the group involved.
But they've told you why they're doing it.
Yeah, they've told us. They've told us that they're doing that gesture to me now. When we see that gesture, we know that they can't shake off. It takes more than a statement by a football coach and a couple of players.
So you don't believe them?
Obviously, I do believe them. I accept that that's why they're doing it. But they should also understand that people will always interpret it for what it usually means, which is over the last couple of years, over the last year, it's been protests in support of a group that despises Western civilization, that makes claims about the effects of institutional racism on social outcomes that are frankly completely unsupported by it.
Let me ask you this then. How do you think it makes the England players feel when they hear some supporters booing just before the referee blows the whistle?
I think, that's the reason why I wouldn't do it. I'm planning to go, hopefully, if I get tickets to the knockout stages of this tournament. I wouldn't do it in a competitive match. I think we made our point, but we want them to know we feel strongly about this.
How do you think it made them feel last Sunday?
I hope it made them think about their actions and reconsider.
Do you think it would make them play better?
No, I think that's why I wouldn't do it in a competitive match. But they've got to realise that a lot of people feel very strongly about this. A lot of reasonable people who disagree with Black Lives Matter. It tends to be, as we see, it's a left-right political issue because all the politicians who come out in support of the kneeling tend to be in the Labour Party. Just about all.
I mean, you can keep talking about the politics of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
The members of that team and the manager have made it, and the FA have made it absolutely clear it's nothing to do with the political movement. I can give you another quote if you want. Gareth Southgate says, I think we've got to a situation where some people think it's a political stand that they don't agree with. That's not the reason. They couldn't be clearer.
But nobody else has ever used the kneeling in anything other than the movement that emerged.
Well, this England team is.
But they are. That's the first time. It's not as if different political.
Well, just why can't you keep quiet for 20 seconds?
Yeah, sorry.
Why can't you keep quiet for 20 seconds and respect what they choose to do?
If they have the right to express a political view before a football match that I paid to get into, I've got a right to express dissent or a disagreement.
Fair enough. How would you feel if before you started your job at the start of the day, some people came into your office, I don't know what you do for a living, Mr. Dunn, and booed before you started work?
Well, I think it was a bit like that in my last job, actually. I mean, that's what...
No, I'm being serious.
I'm serious. I mean, that's what... I was expressing political views which were relevant to my work, and I was bullied for it. And I took my employer to a tribunal, and discrimination was ruled to be legal. So this is political correctness and the domination of left-wing beliefs in certain areas and the inability to actually express dissent and opposition to them is affecting people's lives.
That's not why they're doing it. They couldn't have been clearer. That's not why they're doing it. Let me pause you down. I'm going to bring in another England supporter, if I may, Mr. Dunn. Billy Grant, who was also at Sunday's match at the Riverside, and you actually talked to some fans who were booing. What did you say to them, Billy Grant?
Very simple. I mean, thanks for inviting us on, Victoria. It's interesting to hear the conversation, actually, because for me, tell you what, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of this. Been going to football for 40 odd years. Got grief on the terraces, kicked around the terraces by racists, by people, going to the away games. It was always a danger for me. I was always on my own. And the fact is that no one really looked out for you. You had to look out for yourself. You go to the police wouldn't help you. You go to your own clubs, the clubs will tell you, sorry, they put money into our pockets, so we're not going to do anything about it. Always on your own. And I tell you what, the last few years, all of a sudden, for once, black people and people who support them came around and said, tell you what, we've had enough of this. We've had enough of people being racist to us. My teacher being horrible to me at school, me not getting the job that I want. We've had enough of this. They've come together. They found something that they discovered themselves, which is taking the knee, which is a symbol for them saying, we don't agree with this. They've discovered it themselves. It's brilliant. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh my God, where has this been for the last 40 years?
What do you think of Andrew Dunn's reason for booing the players when they take the knee?
So what do you say? What is the reason for it?
No. What do you think of Andrew Dunn's reasons for booing when the players take the knee?
Listen, I listen to Andrew. Listen, I've got respect for anyone. I'm not going to sit down and I'm going to shout them off. But at the end of the day, of course, I don't agree with the reasoning because there's a couple of reasons why I don't agree with the reasoning. Andrew talked a lot about politics, right? For somebody who wants to take politics out of football, he just kept going on about politics the whole time. I'll go to football to watch a match, okay? I do not believe, it's not even I don't believe, I know this isn't about politics. My 12-year-old daughter, okay, she looks and says basically who isn't taking a knee because she believes that this is an affinity to the protest. So what I'm trying to say here is that when I listen to Andrew, it's almost like somebody spun a yarn. They've thrown politics into the mix, but for all the people that go out there, all we want is that we want something that we own to show people that we're not happy about it. And I'll tell you something, he's talking about, this was the first time it's linked to politics. I think sometimes people have got to read a book. Yeah. Go on, read a book, watch a film. Martin Luther King, 1965, walked from Selma to Montgomery. Why did he do that? Because of voting rights and also because basically blacks were getting a lot of grief in America. They were stopped by the police, they were beaten by the police, and when they were stopped by the police, what did Martin Luther King do? He took the knee. And that's not even the earliest, that's not even the latest, it's not the earliest one. If you go back to 19th century, the anti-slavery movement, if you look at pictures that they've got, you've got slaves doing the knee. It's been a process that has been happening for years, and it's something that blacks have used, and people who support our cause have used, when it's anti-oppression. So listen, within football, like I said to you, I believe that something's got confused. I don't want to go to football to argue with people. I'm nervous bringing my daughter right? And, you know, to the match on Sunday, because I don't want them to see that. And I also...
Fair enough, Billy. I've got to pause you there. No, for no other reason than we have to opt out because we're also on BBC World. But thank you very much for your contributions today.